Greetings, sisters and brothers. I am Reverend David Swinton, and I lead the Council of Finance and Administration for the Iowa Annual Conference. I'm here to talk about our budget process and to help begin the budget discussions in your district conferences. There are three sections to our conference budget. The first is the general conference apportionment, which funds the general boards and agencies of the United Methodist Church. The second area of the budget is conference ministries, which supports the boards of ordained ministries, pensions, and trustees. It also provides the salaries for the appointed cabinet, the Connectional Ministries Council, the field outreach ministers, the Episcopal office, and other conference administration. And the third area of our budget is conference missions. This funds the camps, the campus ministries, parish development, and other programs and missions of the annual conference. The proposed budget for 2014 keeps the general conference apportionments the same. It decreases the conference ministries budget by about $123,000, and it raises the conference missions budget by about $107,000. But it is not quite a wash. There is an area of the budget that must be increased or replenished, the Conference Reserve Fund. This is the fund that we use for cash flow, for emergencies, for unexpected opportunities, and to weather changing financial environments. We're proposing to increase the budget for this amount by $600,000. Let me explain why this is so important. The total conference budget has been flat for several years. Over these few years, we have employed multiple strategies to avoid raising apportionments. First, we have saved money and operated more efficiently wherever we could. Examples of that include the shorter annual conference sessions and the Priuses parked outside the church where you're meeting today. They save us about $50,000 a year in mileage reimbursement. But we have also taken several actions that are appropriate during a temporary downturn, but are unsustainable when income continues to be flat. Each of these actions have depleted our reserve fund. We have kept several line items at zero increase, even when it's proven unrealistic to do so. We were too optimistic in our budgeting, even as costs for buildings, insurance, repairs, and other obligations have gone up. This has led to deficit spending in several accounts, and that deficit spending has come out of our reserves. In order to keep the budget at no increase, we have encouraged committees to use unspent money from our previous years for the current year's budget. We call this carryover spending. This keeps those expenses off the current year's budget, but it's not really a source of income. It's living off our savings, which of course you can do only until your savings run out. This means that there are several areas in our 2014 budget that look like large increases, but which really represent the fact that a board or commission has spent all of its carryover from previous years and must ask for its full budget to be funded by current apportionments again. An example would be the nearly $220,000 increase in the equitable salaries account. Finally, there are a couple of instances where we have borrowed from our reserves to meet large unexpected expenditures. This is an appropriate use of a reserve, but once this is done, it is necessary to revise future budgets in order to replenish the reserve and to cover the new expenses. The obvious issue here is that we have depleted our reserve and need to replenish it. The hidden issue is that we have artificially kept our annual budgets low by living off our savings. Although we have been very wary of any raise in apportionments, the Council has recommended an apportionment increase in order to replenish the reserve fund. There are two reasons for this recommendation. First, because the reserve fund is a priority for our financial stability. We must have cash flow and money to survive any emergency. Secondly, this isn't new spending. It's to replace the money that we have already expended. This would constitute about a 3.8% increase in apportionments to the churches. Along with a multiple year effort to build up our reserves, we also have commenced to budget more accurately with zero-based budgeting and to tighten our financial controls so that accounts within the budget will not go into deficit spending. There's one more important note to make about this budget. The proposed budget for conference ministries decreases by $123,000. But items within that budget for trustees, insurance, administration, and that equitable salaries account that I just mentioned, have to be increased in order to cover our obligations and to end the deficit spending in these funds. Therefore, there are additional cuts that total about $500,000 that still must be designated out of our conference ministry's budget. Why haven't we just gone ahead and made these cuts yet? Because these aren't cuts that can be made by saving a few bucks on office supplies. And we have already taken many of the smaller cuts that can be made like that. These are cuts that the members of the Council on Finance and Administration believe need to include a larger circle of people who are involved and committed to the ministry of the Iowa Annual Conference. These are decisions that are about ministry priorities and effectiveness that shouldn't simply be made by the finance people. So the Council, in consultation with other conference leadership, is proposing that these cuts be made in ways that align to conference priorities. So you'll have a chance at your district conferences and at the annual conference to hear about the plan and the process for how these decisions will be made. I have every confidence that God will continue to use the work of our churches and the Iowa Annual Conference to make disciples of Jesus Christ and to transform the world. Thank you so much for your commitment to ministry and to God's people. Blessings.